Post details an elderly, egotistical president shielded from reality by a slavish coterie of loyalists. Never said that word before. So ailing, mendacious, egotistical, and that's from media outlets that spent 4 years smooching Biden's wrinkly ass. They were so far up his butt, I'm surprised they didn't diagnose the...
Greg Gutfeld aimed his spotlight directly at former President Joe Biden, unleashing a stream of sharp humor mixed with theatrical energy. He highlighted every awkward pause, mixed-up comment, and puzzling moment from Biden's time in office. What followed was a bold and unforgettable comic takedown that had the audience laughing and gasping as Gutfeld replayed everything from Biden wandering off stage to those unusual mid-air hand gestures that left onlookers unsure of what they had just seen. No script, teleprompter, or media buffer stood between Biden and Gutfeld's relentless review. The result? A performance that proved late-night comedy still has bite, with Gutfeld delivering one of his most striking Biden critiques to date.
President Biden boasting about how you should be thanking him this Thanksgiving.
Well, this past week, as Americans gathered around their own kitchen tables for Thanksgiving dinner, that was our goal, to give them a little more breathing room, from turkey to air travel to tank of gas.
When Gutfeld stepped up, his jokes were so precise they felt like they were carved out of pure sarcasm, slicing through the room with startling accuracy. His target stood there in the spotlight, Joe Biden, smiling uncertainly, eyes drifting as if unsure where to land. Gutfeld wasted no time easing into the humor. He launched straight into it, portraying Biden as less of a decisive leader and more like a figurehead guided by programs that even his own team struggles to keep in motion. With each sharp line, the audience watched in amazement as the humor grew bolder, each punchline landing with surprising strength.
Brain wreck of a fact check. Yes, Reuters invites hilarity by fact-checking obvious parody, telling its readers no such luck. Biden doesn't really chase the ice cream truck. So it's no secret the big guy enjoys his ice cream. That's just one of the reasons why Dr. Jill calls him Mr.
Greg joked that the Biden administration hardly feels like a real team running the country. Instead, he said it comes across like one long forgetful moment that somehow affects the whole world at once. He compared Biden to that older family member who confidently insists he can drive everyone across the country, even though he just got lost in his own hallway. Biden isn't clueless about what's happening, Greg explained. The issue is that he believes he has every detail fully mastered. That mindset, he said, turns simple situations into complicated ones. Gutfeld even described Biden talking about fixing the economy while wearing the expression of someone desperately trying to remember where they left their dentures. The crowd erupted with laughter at the picture he painted.
Big ad buy comes one day before Robert Hur will testify about his report claiming that Joe is an elderly man with a poor memory. Biden will be taking his angry man shtick on tour and hit 3 swing states this week. Over the weekend, he gave us a preview of what senile moments you can expect.
Greg then moved on to Biden's speeches, turning each example into something hilariously relatable. He said listening to Biden can sometimes feel like watching someone try to put together furniture without glasses, instructions, or even a hint of what the finished piece is supposed to look like. Biden might start with a serious message about inflation, only to suddenly switch to a completely unrelated memory involving a cornfield in Delaware that no one expected or mentioned. The sentences technically contain all the right words, Greg noted, but they twist together like a jumble of holiday lights tossed into a blender, leaving everyone unsure where the story is headed. At times, it sounds as if someone hit shuffle on an old playlist packed with 70s diner stories and political catchphrases.
As we speak, he's actually lobbying Baskins and Robbins to make a flavor based on little girl shampoo. Although, when Joe says sprinkles, it means call the urologist.
But when Joe talks about sprinkles, Greg joked, he's really saying, call the doctor. Gutfeld went after those famous Biden pauses with full theatrical humor, and the crowd couldn't stop laughing. He explained, but watching Joe freeze mid-sentence is like staring at a real-life loading screen. You never know if he'll finish the thought, drift off for a quick nap, or suddenly reboot like a government gadget getting a software update. At times, Biden leans forward and whispers as if he's about to reveal a top-secret clue, and moments later he suddenly shouts a single word with the force of a storybook wizard. Every speech turns into a suspense-filled guessing game simply because no one can predict what will happen next.
Joe raided Mar-a-Lago with the feds. Now he gets a taste of his own meds. That's good. Stop it. You're biting into the time. The White House admits that more classified documents were found, this time at one of Biden's homes in Delaware and in his garage. But it's cool, man, because that garage was totally locked.
Gutfeld continued, joking that choosing Biden was like picking a screensaver that changes constantly. From afar, it seems active and floats around just enough to look functional. Greg portrayed Biden as the leader of pure confusion, more unpredictable than any foreign rival, mostly because he can't seem to remember which door leads to the Oval Office. He compared Biden to someone who walks into the kitchen, instantly forgets the purpose of being there, yet somehow ends up signing major executive orders moments later. Greg laughed, saying, "With Joe in charge, you practically need a mini loan just to buy a carton of eggs and a money expert to fill your gas tank. Everyday chores feel like major events." He added that when Biden insists the economy is strong, it's like watching a magician claim the rabbit is still inside the hat while it's clearly hopping across the stage. Greg also poked fun at Biden's attempts at empathy, saying Joe sometimes acts as if dramatic nods and a serious squint are equal to solving real national issues.
Pennsylvania, I have a message for you. Send me to Congress that I can support this right. I promise you, we take back Congress, we will restore Roe v. Wade as the law of the land.
Biden could show America his razor-sharp mind by debating Donald Trump, but so far, he refuses to commit.
Mr. President, will you commit to a debate with former President Trump? It depends on his behavior.
Greg kept the momentum going without missing a beat. He poked fun at Biden's habit of showing up at town halls, saying something poetic yet confusing, and then wandering off stage like a parent who lost track of their family at a packed fair, all while major issues like crime, border troubles, and struggling schools wait for real answers. Greg compared Biden's leadership to handing the nation's entire power grid over to a lava lamp. Sure, it glows and wiggles in an interesting way, but once it overheats, it turns into a messy, unreliable decoration that can't actually do anything useful. Then Greg revisited some of Biden's strangest public moments. The handshakes with invisible people, the conversations with no one standing nearby, and those sudden pauses where he freezes as if a remote control got stuck on pause. During one press conference, Greg joked that Biden might greet a potted plant and mistake it for a visiting ambassador. The crowd burst into loud laughter at the visual. "This isn't real leadership," he said. "It feels more like a taxpayer-funded version of a weekend comedy movie. Microphones, podiums, and staff members in a constant state of mild panic." Greg added that the only thing that consistently improves whenever Biden goes off script is the White House press team's emergency response routine. And he noted that seems to happen nearly every time Biden starts talking.
The cold, sweet treat is perfect for cooling down after a long, hot, sweaty day of aimlessly drifting around the White House like a tumbleweed. But now Reuters, which claims to be a news outlet, is getting mocked online for actually fact-checking a clearly edited video of Biden getting distracted by an ice cream truck and walking out of frame.
Greg was equally bold when the topic shifted to foreign policy. He teased Biden as the kind of person who might try to calm a dangerous wild animal by reading it a bedtime story, completely ignoring the seriousness of the moment. Greg said Biden often seems as focused as a tired substitute teacher who misplaced the lesson plan and just wants the class to stay quiet until dismissal. Whether Biden discusses major treaties or sensitive global issues, Greg joked, foreign leaders don't appear particularly intimidated. Instead, they watch him like a puzzling science experiment waiting for someone else to step in. Greg also tackled the border situation, calling it the greatest disappearing act in modern politics, not because the problem has vanished, but because Biden pretends it isn't happening even though it unfolds daily. With Biden, the idea of security feels more like a mood than an actual policy, Greg remarked. Biden wanders around without direction, while his staff tries to reassure the country that everything is fine. Meanwhile, the border remains open, the situation grows more serious, and Biden seems far more focused on having a quiet snack.
She's gonna win. Joe Biden was the ultimate catfish. Yeah. We were all online being told, oh, this is a congenial centrist. Yeah, swipe right. I don't know how to do these dating apps. Yeah. But anyway, then you find out it's not him at all, but some guy in a bathrobe smoking meth. Yeah. God, how many times does that happen?
Everyday Americans, Greg said, now stare at their soaring expenses like contestants on a high-stakes game show. Greg kept poking fun at Biden's endless image makeovers, saying that trying to improve his public appearance is like trying to polish a cloud. You can fuss over it all you want, but it never actually changes. Biden often appears in his signature aviator sunglasses, as if slipping them on instantly clears away the confusion, mistakes, and puzzling decisions that pile up week after week. Greg joked that if stylish shades and a confident stroll down a hallway were all it took to fix the country, Biden would already be honored as one of America's founders. Instead, he often looks like he wandered away from a quiet retirement home and ended up performing at an outdoor event he didn't plan to attend. Greg then turned to the student loan situation, calling Biden's efforts financial theater. He said Biden acts as though new money will magically appear, switching from hero to halted by reality in the blink of an eye when facts and laws catch up. Gutfeld compared Biden's economic approach to a game of Monopoly where every property has been mortgaged and the player no longer remembers the rules.
Hauser and Chancellor Farabee, thank you for joining us as well. And for families across the country, the school year.
That's hilarious. I would say the footage does seem manipulated. There's no way Joe can move that fast. But give him a break, he's got oil cancer.
Biden's long political career, Greg said, doesn't mean he handled the work. It just means he stayed in the building while everyone else finished their jobs. Greg also highlighted how Biden and his supporters criticize large portions of the country while claiming to unite it. He compared it to inviting someone to dinner and immediately making fun of their car, clothes, and kids before they even sit down. You can't scold half the nation and expect it to heal at the same time. The crowd cheered as Greg delivered this with his usual sharp humor. He laughed and said the only thing truly bringing Americans together is Biden's idea to permanently end political ads so everyone can finally enjoy some peace. Wrapping up, Greg pointed out that Biden might be the only president who can drift off during a meeting and still be praised for staying calm, as if that were a major achievement. According to Greg, we've reached a point where Biden gets applause simply for blinking at the right moment, and that, he said, isn't leadership. It's the whole country choosing to look the other way.
The Biden cover-up was by design, orchestrated to protect not the president, but to enable a radical agenda. Anyone could tell Joe was feeble. But what if Biden's decline wasn't caused by disability, but by debility, meaning he was purposely kept exhausted, confused, and miserable, like an overnight shift worker or Fox and Friends viewer?
Greg joked that we've never had a president like this before. Instead, it feels like listening to a long, empty voicemail recorded by someone who forgot to press the button, and now everyone has to pretend it makes sense. Biden's presidency feels like being stuck during a long, unexpected airport layover, Greg joked, turning up the energy. Nothing works the way it's supposed to. Everyone's frustrated. The announcements get harder to understand, and all you can do is wait for it to wrap up. Greg compared Biden's policy shifts to those dreaded airline messages about delayed flights, delivered with a forced smile, followed by total confusion as everyone scrambles to figure out their next move. One day, Biden promotes a green energy event, and the next, he talks about unity, all while ignoring a major train accident happening right in front of the country. Greg said the White House now feels like a real-life remake of Weekend at Bernie, minus the beach scenes and sunglasses. Instead, it's filled with tense staff members, press secretaries performing mental gymnastics, and aides racing to cover every area.
Justice Department's appointing a special counsel to review whether Biden mishandled classified info. So how is the White House dealing with this? Come on, you just gotta trust the process.
This is an ongoing process under the review of the Department of Justice. We're going to respect the process, and we're just going to allow the process to continue. Let the process continue. It's an ongoing process. I am genuinely saying to you, there is an ongoing process. This is all part of the Justice Department process as part of that process. And I said because there was a process of justice throughout this process, we just laid out the process that was taken, and that is the process.
Yeah.
Whenever Biden turns to leave the stage, he nearly bumps into a wall, the flag, or the nearest musician. Yet some news outlets still insist he's making impressive breakthroughs. The crowd burst out laughing as Greg wrapped up this segment, pointing out that Biden's attempts to connect with ordinary people often sound strangely out of touch. Greg then mocked Biden's efforts to present himself as a working-class hero, even though he's often seen attending fancy billionaire fundraisers or browsing pricey scented candles in Delaware like it's a fun weekend activity. Greg compared Biden's blue-collar stories to a reality show star, claiming they understand homelessness because they once stayed in a slightly cheaper hotel room. It looks like empathy, Greg said, but it's only a performance. And the crowd roared at how clearly he made the point. He also joked about Biden's unusual social media videos, where Biden squints at the camera or holds an ice cream cone like he's trying to remember what year he's supposed to mention. Greg said they look more like commercials for retirement communities than messages from a national leader, and the audience howled with laughter. He added that if Biden ever joined TikTok, his challenge would definitely be called Find the Exit. The room shook with laughter as Greg smiled, knowing that for many people, humor was a much-needed break from the confusion of the times. Meanwhile, backstage, Biden was still asking where Air Force One might be parked.